Well, hello everyone. Welcome once again to my live stream session. Thank you for joining me. This is your live stream session with employment law. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, one of the founding partners of Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. And I log on here once or twice a week to talk to you about employment law, to tell you what you need to do and what you need to know, but most importantly, to answer your questions. This is not my session, this is your session, where you get to ask me whatever you need to, whatever you want to about your workplace rights. We are live here. It's called a live stream, meaning I'm live right now with you at your service, only here for you to make sure that you understand and you know your legal rights in the workplace. What can you ask me about? Well, whatever you want, but you can ask me what to do if you lost your job. You can ask me if losing your job was legal. You can ask me what to do if you're being mistreated, if your hours have changed, if you're not being accommodated or discriminated against, if you're sick and cannot work, what to do in any of those cases, and much, much more. I think you get the idea. If you're dealing with a workplace issue, a workplace situation, this is your live stream session where you get to ask me a question. I get to tell you what to do, what the law does for you, and how you can get help. Again, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. You can find our firm across Ontario, BC, and Alberta. So we've got your back. We can help you. We want you to get to have the knowledge. Too many people don't, they walk around, they work, they don't know their rights in that situation. Well, by watching this session, by listening to what I'm about to say, you will learn a lot and you get a chance to ask questions, of course. I see questions of coming in. I'm going to start answering them in just a moment here. Please bring them on. Don't be bashful. Let me give you some other contact information before I start answering questions. If and when you want to connect with me personally and my team and have a personal discussion or an email exchange, so easy to do that. All you have to do is go to employmentlawyer.ca. You see that address on the screen, employmentlawyer.ca. Phone number is right there. Email address right there. Form, if you'd like to fill it out, is right there. And of course, there's so many more tools and resources there for you to learn more about your legal rights at work. You have rights. Trust me, we have some of the best employment laws anywhere in the world, right here in Canada. And on this session, on my radio shows, on my TV shows, I tell you what those are, I help you, and I make sure that you're supported. So I think we got to get started answering some questions. Bring yours as well. If you're just clicking on and joining, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, live answering questions that you're asking. So ask, don't be bashful. All right, first question today, thank you so much, comes to us from Reddit, and that's from Traveler. I was recently laid off from my company where I worked for 6.7 years. Was transferred from a non-taxable country to Canada just a year ago. I have just received 2 weeks severance in spite of working for this long. Please advise if this is acceptable as per law or if I should consult an employment lawyer. My contract honors my continuous service of employment from the date I joined the company. So you are now a 6.5-year employee. It does not matter if you just came to Canada a year ago, but you were working for the other company, for the same company overseas. All your years of service count towards your seniority and count towards your severance. So because of that, after 6.5 years, like I don't know exactly what job you're doing, I don't know, your age, etc. But you could easily be looking at 8 or 9 or even 10 months of severance, maybe even more. So you're owed a lot more than 2 weeks. But I'm going to say something else to you. Even if you had only worked there for a year, let's just say it was a year, forget about 6.5 years, just a year, you'd be owed a lot more severance than 2 weeks. Even in that situation, you'd probably be owed several months paid, 3-4 months, something in that order. So yes, definitely. You got to call me. Not later, not next month. You got to call me now. Let's have that private chat and I'll help you get that severance. Of course, to connect with me, it's employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Address is on the screen. And very important, this is actually something that does come up. When it comes to your severance, all your years of service with the company count, even if some were in country, out of province, etc. All those years count towards your seniority. The more seniority, the more severance. Okay, so thank you for that, Traveler. Great question. You know what to do. Reach me through employmentlawyer.ca. Thank you. All right, if you've just joined us, if you've just connected and you're kind of scratching your head, wondering what's going on here, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer. This is the live stream session that I host, answering your questions live about employment law, workplace rights, wrongful dismissal, constructive dismissal, human rights, you name it. So I'm going to continue answering questions. I see some more have come in, but I want your question as well. Don't leave here without asking the question. Don't leave here without telling me what you need to know, what's going on with you. So ask the question. Don't be bashful. But right now, I'm going to continue answering. Lynette has our next question. If my manager wants to move me to a new location, do I have to accept this change? So really, the threshold that I use is the 1 hour kind of threshold. What I mean by that is, if the move in the new location is going to result in a extra commute of an hour more than what you're doing right now, it's not something you have to accept. On the other hand, if it's less than an hour, maybe it's only 20 minutes more than what right now, if you don't accept, that could be a resignation. Okay. Now, if it's an hour or more than what you're doing right now, and they insist on it, that becomes a constructive dismissal. It's not a resignation, meaning you're going to be owed severance if you lose your job as a result of this move, and you're not moving there as well. So it's a question of, is this a resignation or is this a constructive dismissal? And it comes down to how much longer it's going to take you to get there. It's not about kilometers or distance. It's about the effect that this has on you. If it's going to have a minor effect, you probably, if you don't accept, it's a resignation. If it's a more significant effect, then that absolutely would be a constructive dismissal. So Lynette, here's my best advice to you. Before you say anything to your employer, yes, I will, no, I won't, let's have a private chat, okay? Let's dot our I's and cross our T's. Obviously, there's a lot at stake for you. And for us to do that, very easy. Just go to employmentlawyer.ca. Look at that address on the screen, employmentlawyer.ca. So that's the answer. If you have a follow-up question, Lynette, ask it, and happy to connect with you through employmentlawyer.ca. All right, fantastic questions. Great start so far for this session. I see some more questions have come in. I'm going to answer them as you're listening to me, and as if you're hearing what I have to say about employment law. Type in your question. You have that box on your screen. Type it in, hit enter. It's going to pop up on my screen. I'll read it and I'll answer it. It's that simple. Of course, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, with you, for you, right here, right now, answering questions. All right, let's continue, shall we? Next question comes to us from YouTube, and this is from Fort Minor. My job classification has changed. Can I speak to a lawyer about a grievance with my union? No, not really. If you're a unionized employee, the only one that can help you is the union. There's nothing that I or any lawyer can do for you in that situation. Whether that misclassification is legal or not comes down to the collective agreement, comes down to what your union has to say. So if you're a unionized employee, the only one that's allowed to help you is your union. You cannot get help from me or from any other employment lawyer. The only one that's allowed to deal with your employer, to help you in dealing with your employer, is your union. So that's the answer, Fort Minor. Thanks for that question. All right, let's continue. Suzette has our next question. What happens if your employer ghosts you while you are on maternity leave? My sister is not receiving any sort of follow-up on her return, and she doesn't know what to do next. Okay, so here's what I would do. And this has to be in writing, always in writing. If she calls them, they can let her say, oh, you never called us, we didn't know. She needs to email them and say, okay, I'm able to return back to work on July 15th, whatever. I'm going to see you July 15th at 9 a.m. Trust me, when she says that, they will respond to her. Okay, they will respond. So she needs to tell them, I'm cleared, I'm coming back to work, I'm going to be in the office at this time on this date. I promise you at that point, they will respond to her. Now, if the response is, okay, yeah, we'll see you then, no problem, good. If the answer is no, we're not ready, you don't have a job, we'll get back to you, at that point, she needs to call me. Okay, they don't have the ability to delay her return to work. They don't have the ability to decide not to bring her back. They don't have the ability to even give her a different job. The obligation is to bring her back, the same job, same pay, same everything that she had before. But rather than her say, "Oh, can you tell me when I can come back to work?" she needs to say in writing, "Employer, I reached out to you before, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be back to work, ready to work Monday at 9, whatever it is." Trust me, she'll get a response. Any problems, Suzette, have her reach out to me. To connect with me, very easy to do, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Fantastic question. Happy to connect with her. If you have a follow-up, or she has a follow-up, you can also ask it right now. Otherwise, you have all the contact information. Fantastic questions today, guys. Really, really good questions. I think you see how simple it is to get your questions answered, to get help, to get a better understanding of your legal rights. This is really what this is all about. Everyone has a right to know what the law can do, what the law says, and whether something is legal or illegal. Too many people don't know that. On this session, you will learn all these things you need to know. So ask your question. Don't be bashful. Please, please take advantage. All right, let's continue asking questions. You can ask it. If you ask now, I promise you'll get an answer. Our next question comes from Nick on YouTube. I've been working as a contractor for the last 6 years. My employer contracts the night shifts and renews them annually. Recently, they have let go of a few of us on the night shift because we have less work. They're saying since we are contractors, they can just let us go on a renewal date and we aren't owed anything more. Is this true? What if they let us go before our contract is complete? So you're not likely a contractor. In the eyes of the law, you're very, very, very likely to be considered an employee. All right. If you work for a company for 6 years, I'm telling you, you are an employee. Not a contractor is someone that comes in, does a job, finishes the job and leaves, and maybe gets called back again when they need more help. But that's not you. You've had a regular job, night shift for 6 years. You are an employee. So they've misclassified you. Very common situation. You've been misclassified as a contractor when you really are an employee. So what does that mean? That means you're owed severance. And even if it was at the renewal date, doesn't matter. You are owed severance. And you could be looking at 8, 9, even 10 months of pay that you're owed here, depending on exactly what your job is and your age. So you need to know that, and you need to tell your colleagues, the other ones that have been let go. And that's true whether or not you're laid off because the business is slow. Does not matter. You are owed that severance. Guys, this is a very common situation. I want you to remember that it doesn't matter what the company says that you are. Doesn't matter really what you say that you are. Doesn't matter what you sign. You can't call yourself something that you're not, and that doesn't make you that thing. You know, if I call myself the vice president of the Royal Bank, and doesn't make me the vice president of the Royal Bank, right? Something real has to happen to make me that. Same thing with a contractor versus an employee. The law decides if you're a contractor or an employee. Not a piece of paper that you sign, not what the company says, not how they pay you. If you look like an employee and act like an employee, you're an employee. It's as simple as that. So that's what we call a misclassification. Nick here was misclassified. He's an employee. He's owed severance. He's owed overtime. He's owed vacation pay. What the company's doing is illegal. So now you know, Nick, you know what to do. You know how to reach me if you need me, employmentlawyer.ca. Fantastic question so far. By the way, if you've just joined us, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin, LLP. And I want one thing and one thing only, and that is your question. Before the end of the session, I want you to ask it so that I can answer it. Just like Vinette. Vinette says, I'm dealing with a coworker who is making serious allegations against me, and it seems like my employer believes them. If they let me go, how do I claim wrongful dismissal? So first of all, if there's allegations against you, your employers are required to properly investigate. And that means allowing you to give your side of the story and whatever other evidence you want. You may have some witness that can corroborate what you have to say, and they have to let that happen. They can't just say, well, Joe said something and that's it. But let's continue this. Let's say that they decide you've done something wrong. That does not mean you don't get severance. Number one, they have to prove that you've done it. You don't have to disprove it. They have to have proof that you've done whatever they said. And number two, even if you've done it or they can prove it, that does not mean you don't get severance. In order not to get severance, whatever you did wrong has to be really, really bad. Okay? It's not enough to show, listen, Vinette did something wrong. That does not deprive you of severance, not at all. It is extremely difficult to terminate without severance. We call this termination for cause. Very difficult to do. So number one, they have to let you respond. Number two, they have to prove that you've done something wrong. And number three, even if they can prove it, chances are it's still not cause and you're still owed severance. So bottom line, Vinette, if they do something wrong, if they let you go with severance or without severance, doesn't matter. You call me, okay? My contact information, you can get that through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, and we need to talk. We don't necessarily need to talk right now because there's nothing I can do at this point. But if they punish you, let you go, you call me right away. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, and I'll help you. Hopefully that makes sense, Vinette. Any follow-up questions? I'm still here. You can ask it right now, and I'll still respond to you. Thank you for that. Wow, what great questions here. And before I continue answering, I see some more questions have come in. I want to take a quick pause and tell you about the severance calculator. Everyone has a right to know how much severance they're owed. Everyone has a right to know whether their severance offer is fair if they've been let go. How do you do that? It takes seconds and it's free. You just go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. You see that address on the screen. It's pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. And when you're there, you simply click on the severance calculator. And that's it. You answer a few questions there, and it's going to tell you if you're owed 8-month severance, 18-month severance, 24-month severance. It's easy, really easy to use. It's completely free. It's completely anonymous. No names, no phone numbers, no email addresses. It's just there for you. We created the severance calculator, man, about 11 years ago. Well over 2 million people in Canada have used it so far. It's probably getting closer to 3 million now. So use it as well. It should be the first place you go to if you lost your job, okay? You grab your smartphone, your tablet, go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca and use the severance calculator. Everyone should have that information, and you'll be surprised by how much severance you're legally owed. All right, I want us to continue answering questions. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer. This is your live stream session dealing with employment law, and I'm going to continue answering questions. You ask yours too. The Spencer twins has our next question. Can my employer tell me to take out my braids? There is no dress code stating employees can't wear braids. The dress code only states long hair must be tied up above shoulder. Manager sent worker home. So they can only really do that if it's a safety issue. So if for safety reasons you can't wear whatever protective gear you have to, at that point they may be able to let you go or to send you home. And if you refuse, they may be able to let you go in that situation. Now, that's especially true if the braids are there for a cultural reason. If it's one of those things where you just decided, hey, I look better in braids, and the employer says, well, that contravenes our workplace policy, that's an issue as well. But if the braids are there for cultural reasons, the only way they can tell you not to is if it's a safety reason, if you cannot do your job safely with those braids. So that's what it comes down to. Hopefully you understand that. Any follow-up, you reach me through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. All right, let's continue answering questions. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, with you from Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. You still have time. I can promise you right now, it's 1:19 p.m. Eastern. If you ask your question right now, you will get an answer right now. So let's continue. Next question is Amble Bramble, who says, our employer has issued new contracts for us all to sign. The new contract says they reserve the right to make changes to our hour shift, etc. How legal is that? Well, it's not a question of legal. There's no law that says your employer can't have a new contract. It's a question of, do you have to sign it? And the answer is, number one, you don't have to sign it. And number two, you absolutely should not sign it. Okay? Your employer can't force you to sign this. It is a very bad idea. Now, you've already identified some things that are problematic. The fact that they can change your hours, your shifts. I can promise you that there's other problematic things in that agreement that you haven't even noticed yet that could potentially be even worse than what you've noticed. There's only one reason an employer is going to decide to have new employment contracts, and that is because there's terms in those contracts that are better for the company, not for you. Terrible idea. It could limit your future severance. It could give the company the right to put you on temporary layoffs, which they don't otherwise have a right to do. It could give the company the right to change your job, your hours, your pay even. Don't sign it. Bad idea. Certainly don't sign it without me seeing it first. So hopefully that makes sense, Ambo Brambo. But no, very, very bad idea. Be very concerned. And this is true for everyone here. Anytime your employer gives you a new employment agreement to sign out of the blue, bad news. Always, almost without exception. If you want me to review it with you, by all means, contact me through employmentlawyer.ca. Fantastic question so far, guys. I see a bunch of more questions have come in. I'm going to get to all of them. That's why I'm going to continue right now. Darlene 12 has a question. What is the best strategy for dealing with harassment in the workplace? Excellent question. I'll try to be as brief as I can. We could do a whole session just on that. But bottom line is, number one, you have to tell your employer. If at all possible, you have to let your employer know. Whoever the right person is, whether it's HR or a manager or the owner, whoever the right person is in your company, tell them about it in writing so that they can deny that you've told them. Once you do, they are legally required, legally obligated to investigate this in good faith and then to do whatever they have to rectify this. Okay, to deal with that harassment, to make it go away. They can't ignore it. They can't say we don't want to. They can't say that's your problem. They have to, by law, investigate. Now, if you talk to them, if you let them know, and they don't investigate, or they don't take it seriously, or they ignore it, or they drop the ball, there's various remedies that are available. That could be a constructive dismissal. It could be a violation of occupational health and safety. It could even be a human rights issue. At that point, you call me right away. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, and I'll be more than happy to help you and deal with that. So deal with it internally first if you can. If you've tried and nothing's happened, you call me and we deal with it externally. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Darlene, and any questions, follow-ups, you know what to do, and you can reach me through employmentlawyer.ca. All right, next question is from Daughter of the King. Do you practice in the US? No, only in Canada. Our firm is in Ontario, BC, and Alberta. Thank you for that. Let's see. I want to answer more questions. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer. Lauren Mitchell. Next question. I worked for 2+ years as a contractor with no signed or renewed contract. Let go during a documented mental health crisis after disclosing ADHD and receiving no support. Also paid less than male peers. Well, honestly, this form is not even the right form for you. You need to contact me. We need to have a private discussion. Wrongful dismissal. We're talking human rights violation. We're talking maybe pay equity issues, discrimination. There's a lot here. Everything that you've described is completely illegal. All right. You're probably an employee the whole time. So we need to connect, Lauren. Obviously, I can't get to work to help you on this session. I can just give information. You actually need me to help you. So to connect with me and my team so we can give you that help, very, very easy to do, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Thank you for that, Lauren. Don't wait on this, okay? MP says, next question. Can an employer let me go without severance for not using safety shoes? So for an employer to let you go for not wearing safety shoes, they would have to have given you a warning, a second warning, and then maybe even a final warning saying, it's important that you wear safety shoes. You have to. If you don't, we're going to let you go. And then you still didn't wear it, then potentially they can let you go without severance. But they would have to have those warnings. They would have to have told you in writing that bad things are going to happen if you don't wear them. If you didn't wear them one day and they fired you without severance, that's not going to happen. That's not legal. You would be owed severance. So If they did their work and they give you prior warnings and you ignore them, then yes, that potentially could be a termination for cause. If it's a one-time thing or they never really give you a warning, then no, absolutely not. That would be a wrongful dismissal. MP, if you've been wrongfully dismissed, you know what to do. I'm your guy. You can reach me through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Let's see. Next question is from, again, the Spencer twins. Follow up from my last comment regarding the braids. Is cultural braids considered a protected code? If so, would it be under race, breed? I think I've already answered that. I said that if it's a cultural thing, then they can't tell you to stop wearing it unless it's a safety issue. So yes, because it's protected. MP, can my employer also question me why I called in sick often? So what they can do is they can require proof that you were sick by maybe a doctor's note. They can't ask you what your medical condition is, whether you had to call in sick because you have a bad back or you're suffering from depression or insomnia. That they can't demand to know. But they can say, well, we need you to provide a doctor's note if you're going to be off again. And that's okay. And all the doctor's note has to say is that you were off for medical reasons. It doesn't have to say what the medical reasons were. Okay, so that's what they can require. But it's very important to remember, an employer can't demand to know what the medical condition actually is. You have a right to privacy. They don't have a right to your medical history, your medical records. So very important to keep that in mind. All right. Let's see. Darlene, how can I tell if a new contract is bad? I've heard this before in another one of your streams. What makes a new contract bad? Well, generally speaking, you're always better off not having a contract and working on a handshake than having a contract. Because the only thing a contract does is it takes away rights that you would otherwise have. If you don't have a contract, you started on a handshake, you have all the legal rights available to you. But the contract can take some of them away. For example, a contract can have a term limiting your future severance. You're entitled to a lot of severance if you're let go, unless you agree to limit that in your contract. Another example may be a contract that allows the company to change your hours, your pay, your days of work. An employer doesn't have a right to do that unless you sign a contract that allows them to do that. So that's a bad contract. Temporary layoffs. An employer does not have a right to put you on a temporary layoff unless you sign a contract that gives them that right. So those are just some examples. But generally speaking, the answer is if you don't have a contract, or if you have one from a few years ago, but your employer wants you to sign a new one, bad news, almost always, okay? There's never a reason to sign a new contract. There's never a reason for your employer to want you to sign a new contract unless they want to give themselves new rights, okay? So very important to keep that in mind. Be concerned about that new contract. Let's see. Let's take one last question. Pretend current. My dad just got let go from work by termination without cause. He's 64, $60,000 annually. 20 years of service, non-union. He was offered 28 week severance. Is this enough? No, it's not even close. Your dad is probably owed 22 to 24 months of severance. 28 weeks is 6.5 months. So your dad got a third of what he's owed, maybe a quarter of what he's owed. So yeah, no, not even close. The main factors that go into severance is your age, your position, and the length of your employment. So your dad has been wrongfully dismissed. He needs to call us right away. We'll help him get that severance improved. It's not hard. It's not going to take long. So you need to contact us as soon as possible through employmentlawyer.ca. All right, this was fantastic. This is the time that we've had for today. I think I've answered all the questions. If you still want to chat with me, just connect with me through employmentlawyer.ca. All the contact information is there. Always enjoy doing this. Fantastic questions. I hope I've been able to help you and give you some answers and guidance. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. I'll be back here. I'll be back here on Friday, but don't wait until Friday. You can reach my office today if you want. Again, just go to employmentlawyer.ca. Thank you, everyone, for your questions and for your time. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again very soon. Take care.